Namaskar. At the outset, I must thank the organizers of this international webinar, Rabindra Bharati University, Mass Communication and Videography Department, for giving me an opportunity for sharing my views in this platform. I am thankful because in this August gathering of academicians of journalism and mass communication, the organizers has thought of including one of the professionals like me, because the subject requires discussion on what is happening on the ground. Well, friends, I would like to mention as a journalist that we have covered Bandh, riot, curfew, terrorism, public unrest, fire, and natural calamities like earthquake, even tsunami. We have covered dreaded diseases like swine flu, dengue, SARS, plague, and many other crisis and conflict situations. But covering corona or the COVID-19 and its impact is totally new. It took some time for the journalist, I believe, to react. I would like to discuss on 4 different points on this. Number 1, safety of journalists while covering corona, which is very important, I think. Then what has come while covering is fake news, fact-checking, and infodemic, the new word. And then freedom of media and ethics as far as the coverage of coronavirus is concerned. And then corona's impact on media industry and the job security of media persons. To begin with the security, we must say that first and foremost thing a media person should understand is that he or she is there to cover news, not to become one. He must understand the gravity of the situation. He must understand how contagious the disease is and what are the ways of transmission of this virus. And what are the precautionary measures one has to take, especially those who are going to the vulnerable areas like COVID hospitals and the areas, the containment zones, and as I said, vulnerable areas. Basically, you must understand where to go and what are the places to be avoided. Friends, we have 2 things, zoom and boom. Zoom in the camera, zoom lens in the camera, which allows you to shoot from distance. Had it not been there, we would have not been able to cover any of the sports events because we cannot be within the field. So which means we can cover something very clearly from a distant place. We also have a boom stick to hold our microphone and put it forward without going closer to the person concerned whom are we taking the interviews. So these 2 things are very, very important in these days when close proximity is a big no-no and social distancing is a must. Obviously, hand washing, using mask, and all other things are to be followed, definitely. Now, in the office, what are the protocols prescribed one needs to follow? And not that everyone is going to the office. Working is with a reduced manpower, and we are not supposed to move around the places where we are not exactly required. This is not a real normal situation. So we must work from the place where we are designated to work and whatever little we can do. And even in the newsrooms, we know that many people work together very closely, but if possible, as far as possible, a distance to be maintained between workstations and all other things. And something new which will become very common and which has already become very common is distant recording. One doesn't require to visit somebody to go and shoot, to record. Yes, you can ask him to record on his mobile phone and send it to you, which you can edit. And edit means not from your office. you can edit from home. Many people can send you materials one after the other. You can edit into a program out of all those bits and pieces. So distant recording is something very, very important. And another thing is your presence in a program through e-platforms, that you are not physically present but virtually present. There are softwares, I don't want to name. There are organizations who prefer a particular ones and then they use it. So a new mode of transmission has taken place where the anchor is in one place and the participants are in the other places, and the program is going on air with the minimal staff required for transmission. So offline mode, you can record your voice and pictures and send it, or online you be virtually present. So these are the new techniques to be followed as far as the safety precautions are concerned. Now I come to the next point, which is fake news. Ladies and gentlemen, a word called infodemic has come into being. The Director General of World Health Organization has said that it is difficult to fight the virus and also to fight the infodemic. Not the pandemic as such. They said the problem is with the infodemic. Yes, it's true. The flow of information has increased manifold. Anybody is saying anything, anybody is shooting anything, anybody is writing anything, anybody is editing anything, and spread it across through the free media platforms. So there's a flow, but the duty of this journalist is to find out through a fact-checking mechanism. There are technical mechanisms and others. One must learn all these because this is the need of the hour, so that through you, not a single misinformation, fake news is being transmitted or published. This is very important that at this hour, one should learn these techniques content-wise and technical-wise and follow them so that no fake news is spread. Well, there are certain legal provisions also. The Section 54 of the Disaster Management Act tells you that if you are spreading any alarm which is not real, then you are punishable. Or Section 188, which the government wants you not to do anything, and you do it, you are liable to be punished. So these are legal matters, and over and above, the Supreme Court of India, while giving a judgment primarily on the migrant laborers on 31st March 2020, said that yes, Supreme Court doesn't want to interfere with the freedom of the press and does not intend to interfere the free discussion on this virus, but it stipulated the media to use the official versions, official facts and figures. And the Apex Court told the government to provide official figures. Now, on one side, it has become mandatory that you quote official figures in your media. But on the other side, you are free to have a fair discussion on that. Now, one needs to have a balance. The next point we would like to come is freedom and ethics. Yes, this judgment which I said has referred to that also, but there are certain notices given by various governments that to various journalists for violating these norms and propagating fake news. So the government is also very keen to see that freedom of media does not mean that absolute freedom that we know. Yes, there must be reasonable restrictions, and the country and the world is going through a crisis situation, and one should not spread fake news, and that is the freedom where it is infringed because to avoid certain problems to crop up. But at the same time, we must understand that the role of the journalist and the role of the media is very important, because The people should know. It is not only the medical fraternity or the administration which will be able to do whatever is required. It is a social problem too, and you require media's help. Media is a good vehicle to reach out to people. If you have anything important to be followed, how do you reach out to people? It is the media. The government decides, but government wants its citizens to follow something. But how does government go to the citizens? It's through the media. So importance of media in reporting COVID. A proper, fair, balanced reporting is very important. Very positive reporting it should be, because you do not want to enhance the catastrophe. You have to act as an agent which is conducive to solving the problem. Now, as far as this is concerned, I would like to highlight one case where a Mumbai court has given a verdict. If you remember that when there was a news telecast that there will be some trains for the migrant workers, and then thousands of people gathered in Bandra railway station. So the news which was telecast, and the person who made the news, he was arrested, but while releasing or while granting bail to him, the Bombay court has also said that it believes in freedom of the press, but it is not unfettered, and one should not telecast, broadcast or publish something which creates more problem and which is not real. So that is something which is very important. As far as the ethical issue of the reporting of COVID-19 is concerned, and another major issue is privacy. Now, there are decisions taken by various governments, which were state governments in India, especially the Odisha government, which has announced that it is not allowed for the media to disclose the identity of a COVID positive patient unless and until the patient gives a consent, and this has to be followed very strictly. Yes, like HIV/AIDS and others, there are various guidelines which says that the privacy should be maintained and preserved. You see, throughout the world in medical reporting there are clause of privacy. Like a patient's details cannot be publicized for obvious reasons. So those protocols are also put into effect, and that's why it is prohibited to identify some positive person, because there could be social stigmatization. And we have seen even not positive, though are exposed, even they are health workers helping out the patients in treatment, and may not be a COVID treatment, but the society is not taking it very positively. So this should not be the case. The helpers, the corona warriors, they should be given a special status in the society. So that's why the identity should be prohibited unless and until the person concerned wants to disclose his identity to encourage others to say that, yes, I have won, you can also win, and things like that. So this is another issue. And the last but not the least is the impact of corona on the media industry. The first, we saw that the copies of newspapers were not taken by many people with an apprehension that it could spread the virus. Who said it's not correct, but some housing societies, some individuals have stopped taking physical copies of newspapers. So obviously there has been a slash in the circulation revenue. The entire circulation chain was disturbed. The hawkers did not lift adequate copies because there were no takers. The distributors did not take adequate copies, and the hawkers even did not pay back the distributors, and the distributors said to the newspaper organizations that we have given you advances for a huge number of copies, but we are not lifting them, so you must give it back to us. So the entire distribution chain got disturbed, and it has affected in a circulation revenue. This is a very important threat to the print media, and experts are saying since people have shifted their habits to read the PDF or in the e-platforms, whether the physical newspaper reading, the readers will go back or not. In the West, things have already changed and people have gone more to e-platforms, and it will happen in India thanks to COVID. And obviously the number of pages were reduced and advertisements were reduced. Now it's gradually coming back, but for a considerable period of time there were almost no ads or less ads, and because it's not going to the people, so that's why advertisers were not keen in advertising, and the industrial activities got stopped. The service sector got stopped, so there was nothing much to advertise because products were not sold, services were not offered. So then if you don't have your product and services, why should you put your ad? So there were a major decrease in the ad revenue. This is not only to the print but to the television and radio also. So entire media had suffered. For print, circulation, ad revenue both decreasing, and for the other media, ad revenue decreasing. So definitely it was something grave. And for entertainment media, the new entertainment contents were not being recorded, prepared, telecast. Obviously the news media continued their work because they were exempted, but the others did not. The entertainment industry did not work, but now they have started working, as we all know. So this slash in revenue has caused a loss of jobs to various different number of journalists in India and abroad. And you see, the newspaper industry or media industry as such was not very in a good position even before the corona, for obvious reasons, and then because of the industrial recession and others. But the corona has triggered off that slash, the pay cut, then forced leave, and then golden handshake, or saying, just don't come. You have to understand that several media persons are there who are freelancers, who are contractual, who are daily wages, whatever you say. They are not full-timers, even, and full-timers are more on contractual. The wage boards and things are taking a back seat. I'm not going into the details, but the salaried persons are having problems in slashing of their salaries. The contract persons' contracts are not renewed, and the others are just said that please don't come. And once the media has seen that they can operate with a reduced number of staff and workers, well, at least in the news operations, they may stick to a reduced economy of scale, including everything. So that is another threat which is being seen here, and which is considered to be the toll of corona. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by saying that we are every day, the media is giving those figures of the victims of corona and those who lost their lives due to it, but nobody is giving you the information how many journalists lost their jobs through media, through during corona and as an aftermath of corona. So this is very serious. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what I wanted to say, that we didn't know what to do. First, it came as a shock. Then the safety precautions were the must, and which gave us boom and zoom kind of a thing to maintain social distance while working, work from home, work on a virtual platform, not being physical. So the new work system has been emerged, and that is something which is going to stay. And then the fake news, the infodemic, when the governments and the WHO said that it is even more difficult to combat infodemic than the pandemic itself, and the rate of spread of infodemic is much more than the rate of spread of pandemic. So the journalists had to be prepared and to train themselves in how to find out a fake news technically and content-wise, source-wise, and to see that nothing goes wrong, no misinformation is percolated. And then there are court orders and the laws you have to maintain, and then the ethics mainly concern the privacy. And then I said the toll of corona to the media industry and the joblessness among the media persons. So this is not only a major phenomenon in our lifetime, the media industry is one such, even while reporting on corona, giving information, right kind of information which is required to the society to fight corona. You see, they were sacrificing themselves one after the other. Thank you very much.